A brief message from your friendly neighborhood editing Jordan. We tend to try to keep things pretty PG-13 around here, but this is an improv podcast. So, who knows what we're going to say. Sometimes we throw in some swearing, some sexual content, and some violence. So, as a general warning, viewer discretion is advised. Also to be noted, the opinions stated about a certain tabletop role-playing game are just that, our opinions. We love the game and we like talking about it. So, any criticisms are really just all in good fun. That being said, wizards, please hire us. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
I can do it again. That's how I feel after reading this. You know what I mean?
I haven't looked at it yet. I don't.
We haven't started reading it yet.
This morning on the toilet, if you know what I mean.
Not just.
Pertuset was having a hard time this morning.
Oh, my friend was.
This morning? I still am. Hey everybody, welcome to the Nat One Podcast, aka Nope, because nope, you're not gonna want to hear what we're about to have to say. I'm Pertuset.
I'm Levi.
And I'm Jordan.
Okay, hello everyone.
Yeah.
It's the end of June, start of July here, which means that it is time. While the book itself has not released yet, the classes for the 2024 Player's Handbook have at least released some of their deets, some of their details, and those have been posted across the internet for everyone's perusal. Plenty of people have already made videos about it, so we thought, as we did when all of the UA was coming out, we'd give our 2 cents. So we're reading it today, and we're going to tell you about it.
Babe, wake up. New D&D just dropped.
And that's why Pertuset's been having a hard time.
Not waking up. Okay. So first off, released chronologically, we have The Fighter. Which of your friends are you?
The
I
Fighter.
hardly know her.
The Fighter. The Fighter. Or The Fighter.
Well, first off, one big change that just is coming with this. What are we even calling it? I think they're just.
They're just calling it the 2024 Player's Handbook. They're calling it like an update to 5e, but it's pretty much 5.5.
Yeah.
I've been using 5.5.
That's what I'm going to use because that's simplest.
Yep.
The biggest change, or maybe not the biggest, but a big change with Fighter in general, as accompanying with 5.5e, is the idea of weapon masteries.
Yep.
Where now we revert to 3.5. Weapons have special features based on the weapon type, and fighters can master the most weapons, which means that they get the most bang for their buck if you want to use multiple weapons. But if not, then you're just as effective as like a barbarian or a paladin.
You can do funny little things in combat with your weapons.
Precisely, such as sap.
Yeah.
Or trip.
But the first thing, but before that, there are 3 level 1 changes. That is definitely the biggest one. That one's like actually a thing that wasn't a thing Fighter had. The other 2 things, I do want to mention them just because they are things that technically changed, but they're things the Fighter already had. Fighting style doesn't exist anymore. You don't get that now.
Not real.
Except they just turned it into a feat and you get the feat.
Correct.
So you still get it and it works the exact same way. Well, it does say, and some have seen minor tweaks. I don't know why they just changed it to a feat though instead. Well, I suppose that means now actually anyone can get it.
That's what I was going to say. Is like if you're playing an elf fighter, then the human fighter can presumably do, or the human not fighter can just do the same thing you're doing because they get a free feat.
Presumably. There might be, we haven't read any of how like the feat is set up yet, so there might still be restrictions on how you can get them.
Locked.
But still, I do think that the only reason to turn them into a feat is open it up a little wider for more people to have it. rather than just having it remain a class feature. So I don't see why they would do that. It would be very redundant if they did that just to have the feat be class locked. But you never know. We've already spilled our guts out on the criticisms we had of the UA, so maybe it is something that redundant.
Maybe. Second wind's a little different, not in core, but what they did with it moving forward.
Yeah, you get more of it.
Ooh.
Second one's a pretty good feature. I'm actually glad the fighter gets more of it.
Yeah, it's fine. But then they did something different with it, which we'll get to now.
Oh, I see that. Yes.
Which this is going to be a common theme throughout the entirety of 5.5e is get resource. Use resource as intended, or use resource for secondary thing that you could do with same resource.
Use X for Y or for Z.
First up is Tactical Mind, which they get at level 2. Brand new ability, never before seen. When you fail an ability check, you can expend a use of second wind to gain 1d10 to add to the roll. And your second wind usage isn't expended if you still fail. Who said jocks can't be smart?
Me.
That's pretty nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's a free better bless.
Yeah, I know that they said in several of the interviews their biggest thing that they wanted to do with some of the classes is increase their utility outside of combat, especially for the fighter. Which this does that. I don't know if I like that it uses your second wind. That seems a bit strange.
Maybe like a superiority die would have been.
Well, that's only for a certain fighter subclass, though, that gets superiority dice.
True.
Well, yeah.
Which they did.
Everybody else is just boned.
I just think it's strange. Like, how do you flavor? Oh, my second wind lets me tactically think better.
Give him more oxygen to your brain.
You breathe deeper.
It's from Baki. You get the ogre brain.
Yeah.
Your brain flexes and gets smarter.
Yeah.
Go watch Baki if you haven't watched Baki, everybody.
I do think it's also very funny, though, that, like, there's the D10 is quite a disparity to add to a check, so you could get a 1 or a 10
go
to
really,
add
really
to something.
well or really,
And
really badly.
It's just really funny to me that it could be like, oh, it's a DC 15 check and I rolled a 13. You roll a 1 on the D10, expecting to literally get anything else. And it's like, oh.
I do think that this levels the playing field a bit between fighter and rogue in terms of utility outside of combat.
True.
As rogue gets...
Rogue is generally the skill monkey of base 5e.
Yeah, they naturally get the super proficiency. What's that called? Expertise.
Expertise, yep.
Super proficiency.
I'm going to start calling it that. My super proficiency.
But
what do you call bards like half proficiency then?
Lesser proficiency.
I was gonna call it amateur proficiency, but I like yours better. Bozo proficiency.
Yeah. No, second wind's pretty good. I don't know if is it constantly 1d10 from level 1 to 20. That's interesting.
I believe so because it's supposed to be your hit die.
It's equally as valuable from level 1 to 20. Which is
I think you get more of them as you like. True. You can expend more.
Scales.
But I think just for this, it is you expend a use of it to add 1d10. It's not like you're using all of the dice that you would use in a second wind.
Yeah. I do like that it says when you fail an ability check, you use this, so you don't have to gamble beforehand.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Give you some more certainty to using it.
I'm not sure how much I'm very split on those because one part of me loves that you have to gamble on the first dice roll first. But part of me is also like, well, it sucks if you roll a nat 20 on it.
Yeah.
And you went ahead.
Some of it, I feel like you're sacrificing like the actual fun game mechanics of it. Like, I feel like the weird wording of luck is kind of like, well, that blows.
Yeah.
That's the point.
But that's Tactical Mind. I think that's pretty all right. That's pretty
level 2, new level 2 feature for fighter.
Yeah. Jordan, do you want to talk about the entirety of what they get at level 3?
You get your fighter subclass, and it's the ones that they have listed are the standard Battlemaster Champion, Eldritch Knight, Psy Warrior. That's from Tasha's.
I don't I don't know
Yeah.
why they're including Cyborg. We
I
talked
don't
about this a
know.
little
Makes
bit
no
before we
sense.
started today.
Yeah.
Psy Warrior, I think personally is an odd pick, but go ahead, shoot your shot. Personally, I feel like they kind of picked it because it's from Tasha's,
Mm-hmm.
and Tasha's is like the Xanathars of 5e. Well, I mean, I guess Xanathars is the Xanathars of 5e, but
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say.
but like Tasha is like the new
Xanathar's
age.
2.
Yeah, Tasha was another source book that was
massive.
just very generally good and added a bunch of good things to the game that everyone really liked. And so now, just like Xanathars, it's a book that like pretty much every DM is going to be like, yeah, use that, as well as like the player's handbook, DMG, Xanathars, Tasha's. Those are like the staples to use. So I feel like they might have just pulled it because they were like, it's from Tasha's. Everyone loves Tasha's, because also Battlemaster is getting all of their features that got added in Tasha's as well.
Mhm.
As like just canon to the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also
including the
say-
multi-verb bait and switch.
Slight tangent. I feel like Xanathars and Tasha's together is more 5.5 than what this stuff has been. Like that feel like they basically had 5.5 before they decided to go and invent 5.5/6E/1D&D. Like that, is that not just like it's augmented rules that are slightly better? That's the 0.5 edition.
But they weren't part of the core player's handbook, Jordan. So they're not a new edition
Less
yet.
money.
Yeah.
Then put them together, slap them together as a box set, and call it 5.5.
But then we'd have to like do a deal where it costs slightly less money collectively to get them instead of getting them all individually, so that people would actually buy that, when instead we could just continue to sell them all individually for like $60 each.
Mm-hmm. I did learn from from one of the things that I read about. They chose Battlemaster and Champion because they thought that those two were the opposite sides of the spectrum of fighter that were like I don't know,
Tactical versus just hit things.
Yeah, they were like, these are, if you go along the y-axis of fighter, these are on opposite ends. And then they said they want to do Eldritch Knight and Psy Warrior because those are the Z-axis.
Oh, the Z-axis.
They were like, these are for strange people that want fighter, but not really actually
These
full
are for
fighter.
weirdos and freaks.
But
What if
yeah,
instead of
picked
Eldritch Knight, it was
fighter.
called Freaky Knight?
Oh no, I prefer. What if instead of fighter, it was called freaker, and you hit things with their toes? So, I don't know.
They could have literally picked anything other than Psy Warrior, though, and that
Maybe.
would have still filled the same niche.
I'm just glad it's not Samurai or Purple Dragon Knight.
I was waiting for Arcane Archer Sweep.
True, that one also should never be included in anything ever again.
I don't know.
I
I think that Purple Dragon Knight would have been really funny.
I want
But-
them
Would've
to
been a good
do
bet.
well. Maybe I don't want them. Maybe I don't want Wizards of the Coast, but I want someone to do a complete revamp of Arcane Archer and make it good, because I want there
Make it
to
functional.
be a martial ranged
It wouldn't be
subclass
hard
Yes.
at all.
instead of like, because literally all your range once you get past a certain level is gonna be magic.
Mhm.
I want someone to make a martial ranged class / subclass that is good. Sorry, Ranger.
Maybe
You're okay, Ranger, but you're a little bit more of a skill monkey in my opinion.
Well, and Ranger's not even entirely martial at a certain point.
Yep,
Yeah, it's a half-caster.
halfcaster. Yep.
did say that Psy Warrior is getting completely overhauled from what it was in
Okay.
5e, so it's supposed to be a lot different. They said you're supposed to be able to use like Psionic Blast and you push people
Oh.
away.
It is a Jedi. It's literally just a Jedi.
Yeah. We'll see.
They can't
Yeah.
call it Jedi. That's trademarked.
DM, when do I get my sun sword?
Alternatively, looking at the specific changes between each new subclass,
Mhm.
Battlemaster. Let's see. Superiority die amount same. So is the scaling. Maneuvers from Tasha's are in. Some have been tweaked. They changed the subclass feature Know Your Enemy.
Do you know your enemy?
Now it just reveals immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities without
That's
a minute
nice.
observation. Yeah, I think that makes sense for Battlemaster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's another little change there, but I don't think that's worth reading.
Nah. Champion is said to have the most differences.
Yeah. Has critical hits with added bonuses. Remarkable Athlete has been brought to level 3 and gives you advantage on initiative rolls and strength checks. You get something called Heroic Warrior at level 10, which gives you heroic inspiration whenever you start your turn without it. Wow.
Dang.
Interesting.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Lots of advantage. Do 10 that, 10 rogue, and you're set. Although if I remember right, heroic inspiration doesn't technically count as an advantage, so never mind. But anyway, Eldritch Knight, it's mostly the same. You no longer have to stick to a single school of magic.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Good.
Yeah. When you cast a cantrip as an action, you can simply replace an attack with a cantrip. Before you had to use a bonus action.
Funnily enough, Eldritch Knight, arcane magic.
For magic, you can forgo 2 attacks to cast a level 1 or level 2 spell. Okay. In what world? In what world at level 11 or beyond are you like, instead of swinging my awesome sword twice, I will cast, I don't know, disguise self. I don't know. What's the first level spell?
Yeah, because it's a level 1
Chromatic
spell.
orb.
It's not even good.
Yeah, chromatic orb, magic missile.
At
That's
first
just going to
level.
be less damage than 2 weapon attacks at that point.
It depends on the weapon you have.
Statistically.
I'll tell you
But
what.
still, like,
I think it's more. That's a valuable feature once you hit 20, because then you can cast a spell and hit twice.
There you go.
But until you
could
get
hit
even
3
your third
times
attack,
if you're at
it's
20.
dumb. True. And then and then Side Warrior. That's that.
They gave
Psy
no text
Warrior
for Psy Warrior.
remains mainly unchanged, it says.
Introduced in topics.
Lie and a falsehood. Anyway. Tactical shift.
Level 5.
Mm-hmm.
You can move.
oh, it's that one.
you got
it's
movement.
half bonus, half your speed as a bonus action using second wind, and doesn't provoke opportunity attacks.
So if you're getting hit a bunch, you can then use your second wind to heal yourself a little bit and also retreat as a bonus action.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. Thanks. I don't know. I wonder though, how often are you going? I mean, it's a fighter. We all learn from experience. Most D&D combat is you run into the melee and you are stuck there until you're dead or they're dead.
Well, I think that's mainly because that's mainly because there are very few ways to negate opportunity attacks, and people are afraid of getting opportunity attacked.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's oftentimes people are like, I am within range. I don't want to lose my range.
That's also a vibe. Or if you're flanking and you can like lock into being flanking for a good part of the combat, why would you?
Yeah, if you have a 5-foot range, I think you're gonna.
I think this allows people to be more tactical. Although I wish they would have been given a way to not provoke opportunity attacks that doesn't rely on essentially something that you're only going to be using when you're on the back foot. But I understand it still. I think I see what they were trying to go for with it.
It's fine. I'll tell you what, if they wanted to minimize people multi-classing, this is certainly going to help with that. Because who the heck's like, I need level 5 for my tactical shift dip. It's crucial to my build that I can do this.
Me. I'm taking 5 levels in fighter. I get it anyway.
Not yet, you don't. Not.
Dominable now lives up to its name. When you fail a saving throw, you can reroll with a bonus equal to your fighter level.
There you go. And it starts at level 9, so you get a plus 9.
Hell yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Eventually, you'll be able to add 20 to your roll.
Yes.
That's freaking sweet, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That is
natural 1. The saving throw was 22.
Yikes.
Also at level 9, You get Tactical Master, which is you can replace a weapon's mastery property with push, sap, or slow for that attack. I don't know what any of those do.
Yippee!
I can
They're
assume
new
what push
things.
does. I can assume what slow does. I'm not sure what sap does.
If I recall correctly, sap imposes disadvantage on something.
Oh,
Yes. I'm reading it
interesting.
now.
Interesting.
Disadvantage on their next attack roll. That's pretty good.
Odd.
There's also graze, which comes from great swords, apparently.
Oh,
Can't do that one for Tactical Master.
Lame.
yeah, no, you can only do push, sap, or slow for Tactical Master.
Oh, that makes perfect sense because graze, you do damage equal to your ability score modifier that you use to make the attack, even if you miss.
Ah.
So that's
This is fun.
interesting.
I
pretty
like
good.
this because my biggest complaint about fighter stuff earlier, having access to several weapon masteries, is who uses more than one weapon type in most games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody has their aesthetic for their character, and they never compromise on that.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
have to establish the vibe early and stick with it.
Yes. So I was going to be like, it's great that they get like 4 weapon masteries, but my character's going to use that same longsword from start to finish. Like, or at least use a longsword from start to finish. But this helps, because even if I do have the longsword, then all of a sudden, what it used to graze, it will now sap. Still don't know thematically what that even is like, but yeah!
Suck.
Woo! I'm really glad they didn't call it that.
It's a synonym.
Studied attacks. Taryn, take it.
Okay. If you make an attack against a creature and miss, you gain attack on the next weapon attack against the same creature until the end of your next turn. So
That's a lot of attack.
yes,
You get advantage.
yeah. So you literally all that it's saying is if you miss, you get advantage on the next attack.
Yes.
Which is nice.
That's good.
It makes it so that you will just miss less if you start to
Don't forget,
miss.
you gotta read the flavor text. They said afterwards. So whenever you miss your first attack and critical hit on your second because of advantage, you can say that first one was for research! Exclamation point.
Because a fighter's gonna do research.
So Epic Boons, level
Yeah.
19 feature Epic Boon. This
That's
is that
for
new
all the
thing
classes.
that they're doing. Every class gets an Epic Boon instead of a class capstone now.
Yeah.
But they have a recommended option for the fighter to take,
Fighter.
which is Boon of the Combat Prowess.
Mhm.
Interesting. You increase one ability score by 1 to a maximum of 30,
Yeah.
which is interesting because I don't know how you would have gotten it to like 29.
I don't know. I think it caps usually at 25.
I think the purpose is that you can take multiple epic boons if you're playing a campaign past 20.
They're trying to
Gotcha.
encourage
They're
20
trying to
up.
prestige.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
As
So
they
you can keep
should.
taking them and keep increasing your ability scores.
Which I saw
Shiny.
someone talk about that, how crazy it was that for the last 10 years, they've barely been able to make an adventure past level 12, and now they're all about close, like
Mhm.
past level 20 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, sure. I think this is
Also,
good.
there's more. There's more. Whenever you miss an attack roll, you can hit instead.
Rogues! I love rogues!
Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until the start of your next turn, you goober you.
it's just better than rogues, sorry.
Imagine that fighter being better than the rogue.
So you will, at a minimum, hit once every turn.
But does that
Not the
also
rogue.
does that also just stack with the studied attack thing? Because you still technically missed. So you would get advantage
would
on your
assume
next
so.
attack.
Probably.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Unless you just never miss ever again.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't plan on it.
I try not to.
Okay. That's the fighter. Any final thoughts? I think it's
It's okay.
notably different. got some better stuff outside of combat.
I mean, I think it is just better than 5e Fighter.
Yeah.
I think it's
Downloadable
better than
better.
5e Fighter, and because of what the fighter is, I think that all around makes it better.
Yeah.
But
Alright.
also, just to temper everyone's expectations, I also remember we liked the UA Fighter as well when the UA Fighter came out, I believe. So,
Yeah.
that's just...
Was Fighter one of the ones we liked? Because I know we liked Rogue, but you may be correct. I think that is one of the
Because
other
Fighter, I
ones that we
believe,
liked.
was one of the first UAs to come out, and I think we liked it, and we got excited, and then our hopes and dreams were crushed.
Yeah.
And then the Antichrist said, no, no fun in the game that you love.
Yes.
I don't remember anything I ever did like or didn't like.
But
I
now,
remember the Rogue was really sick. That was the one that stuck with me.
we've got Paladin.
Yeah.
Big source of controversy were the changes made to Paladin in the
Mhm.
community. In our circle, people have opinions as well. Wouldn't you believe it? But we can save that for like an after. First, let's just talk about what actually changed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
At
You're a
level
Paladin
1,
guy.
they have 4 things at level 1. First of which, the ability that everyone knows and loves about Paladins, lay on hands, your free healing. Now it is a bonus action to do it, so you can attack and also heal in the same turn.
Awful strong.
Very strong. However, it no longer affects diseases. You cannot use it to cure diseases, but it can be used on constructs and undead.
And it can cure the poisoned condition.
Woo.
Can it?
Yeah, if you
Yes.
That's what it
scroll down
says.
to the big one, it says that.
Ah.
The big list, yeah.
That's interesting that they kept that, but not the disease.
I don't know why they didn't keep the disease one, but okay.
Wonder, I mean, I guess we'll see. Well, I don't know if we'll see on this or not, but I wonder if they're gonna, because disease immunity was pretty frequent to come across in D&D 5e.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're gonna keep having that or not.
Yeah, I mean, most likely it's because of their new expanded spell listing. There's probably a low level spell that paladins just can't take to cure disease.
Maybe. Moving on.
Speaking of which,
Spellcasting
yeah.
is at level 1 for paladins now. Yippee! It's not a single level later. Yay.
Including more improved smite spells. That's hard to say.
What, smite spells? Smite
No,
smells?
more improved smite spells.
Nice
That's
smells?
what's
Smite
hard to
spells?
sell.
More nice Michaels?
Toast.
Okay. They get weapon mastery.
Yeah.
Longsword
Yep.
set.
To highlight
That's
this new
level
option for
2.
paladins, let's take a look at the mastery properties for a signature paladin weapon, the longsword,
Oh!
which is a sapper. That's a sapper weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones that suck you, huh?
Yeah.
No.
That's why they call it the queen of the battlefield. Anyways, level 2, you get your fighting style. Still a feat for the paladins as well, except it says it's now a special subtype, a mysterious third type of feat, which you can choose if you have the fighting style class feature. So it is a class feature for the paladin, but also a feat at the same time.
Why?
I'm confused.
I
Well, then they
believe-
have an exclusive paladin option that gives you cleric cantrips instead of
From-
taking one of those feats.
That was a thing added in Tasha's.
True.
Yeah.
The biggest implication of this that I can understand about the fighting styles is, so only if you have the fighting style class feature can you take a feat. When you reach that level, you get a free feat. However, when you get a feat naturally, like at level 4, you can then gain additional fighting
Okay.
styles for free
Yeah.
because
Okay.
you have it. But like
Yeah.
a
So
wizard
it's-
and a warlock never could.
So it's
Okay.
not class locked, but it's kind of class locked.
Yeah.
It's locked to the marshals.
Yes. If you
Okay.
have the feature, you can get as many of the feats as you want, so long as you can get feet.
Interesting.
I don't
So
know
it is
why you'd want a bunch of them.
technically a buff. But
Yeah,
I was just questioning the swapping out the feet for the like the like just class feature.
This
Like
is
with
the only difference.
Either picking the feet or they can choose to be the Blessed Warrior,
Mhm.
which is cool, but also why is that? I'm confused.
As far as I can tell, this is the only possible difference from this and the other is that like now you can double up once you get ASIs and feats.
But why did they not just make that a feat? Like one of the feet that you can choose. Like, why is that ability special that it's not one of the fighting styles?
Blessed
Is my
Warrior.
question.
Oh.
To make it complicated.
That's why I'm confused. I'm like, if you made all of the other ones feats, why is this one also not a feat, but you can take it instead of a feat and it's the same thing?
But yeah, that's fighting style, which we'll have more to talk about that sort of thing when we get to Druid, which we won't get to today, presumably. But then here's the big change that nobody was happy about ever.
it is a
Aaron,
good change, but
Turn if you want to
D&D
read.
Reddit got mad.
So they changed how smites work. So smites were already spells, but there was also the class feature of Divine Smite that wasn't a spell, but used spell slots. It is
Yes.
now a spell itself. So they changed a couple things with the way it worked. So can be used on unarmed strikes now, which is cool. That means that Monk Paladin can work
Hell
now,
yeah.
which is really cool. Now requires a bonus action to use, though, which is what has been the very contentious thing other than it being turned into a spell. It is a good change because it is a needed nerf, but
But you can't nerf the paladins. There goes my magic power fantasy.
it was way too overpowered to begin with.
Added on to that,
I do want to. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think we're probably gonna mention the same thing. Maybe the bonus action that you use to make Divine Smite still work still kicks in after you hit a creature.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's no risk, as people may worry about, like with the spell smites, where it's oh, I don't know if I'm gonna hit.
Yes.
It still works like the old
Yeah.
one. It just now takes your bonus action as well.
Yeah, it literally all that is changing is you can't do it multiple times per turn to have the best DPS in the game.
Although I am more of the opinion that Paladins did rightfully deserve a nerf, I do just want to bring up the arguments from the opposition because I know everyone in this circle is not going to.
No.
So, what I have seen and heard a lot of people saying is there are two key things that they don't like about this change. Is one, now that it is officially a spell, a Divine Smite can be counterspelled by an opponent that has counterspell. Which is interesting because I brought this up earlier before we started recording as well. From a gameplay perspective, I think that's fine. Thematically, though, with how Divine Smite is supposed to operate, that seems weird to me. That this like innate divine energy that a paladin has within them can just be poofed by anyone who can counterspell. Second, now that it's a bonus action, it can only be used once a turn. So that does axe the DPS of a paladin by 50%. Which they still have a lot of DPS despite that. But those are the two big takeaways that people have, I think, as criticism for this.
Yeah.
I have the counter argument to the second point right here. How many times can rogues use sneak in a turn?
They can use it once.
I don't want to hear it.
Exactly. I was gonna say for point number 2, get over it, you big fat baby. For point number 1,
Hey, don't point at me. I'm bringing up the internet's argument.
Listen to this. I'm gonna kill you.
Don't use a singular then when you're saying baby. Say babies.
They are all one. They are a singular baby.
Baby.
Look
But,
at my
like,
hot dog
seriously?
finger.
if you're gonna get that upset about your special damage thing only getting to be used once during your turn, suck it up.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, Paladin in 5e was the best class in the game, like objectively speaking, because they can tank, they can heal, and they do DPS. This brings them more in line with all of every other classes and brings them close to their actual identity as a class.
I would argue Wizard is a contender for best class in 5e, but I understand
Well,
the sentiment.
still, like, but also the thing with Wizard is it takes more stuff to actually get that to work because a lot of their high DPS are save spells.
True.
So it's the enemy rolling against you. For Paladin, especially in 5e, you can just attack. If it doesn't work, you don't have to expend a resource.
True.
With Wizard, you do have to expend that resource.
Yes.
You lose your slots and supplies, yeah.
I just be saying the problem with Wizard isn't Wizard. The problem with Wizard is D&D 5e spells.
Yes.
Until
Yeah.
that gets fixed, Wizard's gonna be busted.
Yeah.
Paladin was busted because of Paladin.
Yeah, it got a very, very much needed nerf.
Regarding the first point about the thematicness of it, if a cleric spell is gonna get
That was gonna be my
counterspelled,
point.
I think a paladin spell is gonna get counterspelled just as well.
Because
So
it is still divine magic.
it's still
so-
divine energy. Same for even if you want to think of a sorcerer, how does their innate power get poofed? Like, why does that work? Same,
Well-
it's the same argument. It's just
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's the same argument for a sorcerer, but that's semantics.
well, either way. And then we
Otherwise,
get the subclasses.
but no, good change.
Yeah. I don't like that Oathbreaker's not here immediately, but at least we get Oath of Vengeance.
I think
What?
Oathbreaker's
Take
not
the
here because Oathbreaker was one of the worst paladin subclasses and was hard to do.
But it's the
Yeah.
cool, edgy one that everybody likes.
Mhm.
It is cool. But oh well.
I mean, a lot of paladin subclasses are just to begin with, but still.
No, I think a lot of the paladin subclasses have a lot of flavor. They're very
Yeah.
unique compared to cleric and fighters subclasses,
Mm,
which are very much, or really just cleric. Cleric's the best example, where it's just the same subclass with a different name.
Yeah.
It's like Funko
Yeah.
Pops. It's like,
Clerics are the Funko Pops of D&D.
yeah. But paladins, all their subclasses usually dramatically changed how they played because of their
Mhm.
auras and other features that they got.
Mhm.
Which they still do, for the most part, it looks like. They're pretty darn similar.
Huh.
But yeah.
Oh, Ancient's got a buff,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Sorry, while you guys were talking, I was reading through the subclass things. And it seemed the biggest takeaway I have taken from these is, yeah, Ancient's got a pretty good buff, which is that their Undying Sentinel, instead of going from 0 to 1 hit point, you go to 3 times your Paladin level in hit points.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool.
So that increases survivability by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that though, because in my opinion, Ancients was the strongest Paladin subclass before
True.
this. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it needed a buff. I don't.
Along with the change of bonus action lay on hands, that means you can come back and boof yourself. Like if you're a level 3 paladin, assuming you get this feature at level 3, you go up to 9 HP, which is nothing to sneeze at level 3, and then boof yourself with an extra 15 HP. Boom, you're up to
You're back at hell.
24.
If it's where it roughly was, I'm pretty sure that's a level 17 feature. If they kept it where it was.
No way. That's crazy. Well, then at that point, it doesn't hardly matter because you're not going to get any value of it until you're almost done with the game.
Yeah.
Unless people start playing them like they want them to, where you're playing level 20 for 8 years.
If that's where or maybe it was level 15. But still, that's pretty high. That would be 45 hit points. So okay. Yeah, no, overall, I think this was a good balance patch for the Paladin. I agree with most everything that you guys have said about changing up, the stuff with the divine smites. And I remember when they first released Paladin in the UA, I was very confused because they had worded how they were changing divine smite really weirdly. And so I couldn't put 2 and 2 together that they were just turning it into a spell, which effectively does not change how it was expended in basic 5e at all, because it was already expended the exact same way. It was just a free action and didn't count as a spell. It was a class feature. But yeah, no, pretty much all they have done is they have just slightly nerfed divine smite.
There's a handful of small changes.
Yeah.
Oath of Glory had its aura of alacrity, which now does not just work right at the start of combat, but now if you pass through their aura, you still get the bonus from it.
That's cool.
Which is very nice. Aura of Alacrity is the one that increases movement speed.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That is nice because Glory was not very good.
No.
It was one of the worst Paladin subclasses, but that's nice now because that is taking into account if you get movement speed, you're probably going to be moving out of the aura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's handy.
Yes. Makes them a little bit more better of a support.
Yeah. Still wish we had some Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker has amazing flavor. They just need to make it good.
Yep.
Yeah, but to do that, they also need to fix necromancy. But
that they also need to work.
Yeah.
Paladin's other new big thing is they have Find Steed all the time forever.
That's cool.
Level 5.
Well, yeah, but that's a new core class mechanic that, as far as I know, they never had before. You could get the spell, but they did not have it just in the class.
Yeah, it was just in the spell list. It wasn't one that was always prepared all the time. But speaking from experience, for someone who never really gave much thought about using a mount as a paladin and then did in a 1 to 20 campaign, it's great. Do it. It really makes up for your really low speed that you have compared to like monks and rangers and rogues and all the other people who can move quick. Just pop a Pegasus out, brother. Pop a horse out. It's real good, especially when you can just resummon it and don't have to worry about it dying.
Yeah.
If it dies in that combat, you'll have it back in a day.
Oh, I miss gibberish.
He's still there.
I know. I'm saying, like, as in we're not playing that campaign anymore.
New feature, Abjure Foes, seems to be more or less just a different version. I know several of the different subclasses of Paladin had, like, Abjure, monstrosities, or Abjure demons, Abjure...
It was flavored differently for each subclass, pretty much.
Now it's just enemies.
Yeah, which I like better.
Yeah, that works. I'm not partial. I don't care that this is not in the subclasses anymore. It works.
Ooh, different lay on hands uses.
That is the same, actually. It just uses lay on hands now. So that's another nerf. Ooh. Instead of having your restoring touch, which is its own thing, it draws from lay on hands.
Rip.
It does seem nice.
You can now choose to remove one condition from a list of options and can even do this for multiple conditions if you spend enough hit points.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, like, I don't know if it was like that before, but now you can, in multiple conditions, spending enough hit points with one action. That's pretty nice.
Okay, so it's not a nerf. It's a rework.
It's like a half nerf, half buff.
It's a rework because how it used to work was you had one that you got at level 14, or it might have been a different level, I don't remember, but you started with one when you got the feature, and you could touch someone to end one condition on them, and then as you leveled up, you would get more, and I think you got a maximum of 3. When you were at level 20, you would get 3 per long rest. So now this is the more you put in, the more conditions you can end. So if someone was like both blinded and stunned, you could end both blinded and stunned on them if you put in 15 hit points, which I like. I like that.
Doesn't that make sense though, since they kind of messed with the thing that it's like 5 hit points and it fixes something?
Well, that was for disease.
Yeah.
You could use that to heal
do that
disease.
For disease anymore.
You can't do that for disease anymore. I don't know if you could do that for a condition though.
I don't think it was ever for conditions before.
No.
I feel like it's a trade-off kind of. Like
yes.
I think that's a valuable trade-off.
Yes.
Conditions. Yeah. Now that's good. Removing stun or something like that is huge.
Yes.
Now, I wonder if you could somehow remove unconscious. That'd be funny.
That would
That
be
would
kind of
just
funny.
be use your lay on hands.
I know, but
That
I would
was-
like to instead somebody just be like, I want to remove the unconscious condition from them, but I don't want them to gain any HP.
They're just at level, like,
It's in
at
your
base
hands, DM.
0.
It's oh,
You
they're
astrally
awakening
project.
Unconscious
agony.
but dead.
You astrally project out of your body. Your
Yep.
soul is conscious. You are not.
And the last thing is epic boon. I don't think there's a need to go over it. They
Boon
mention
of
a
true
true
sight.
sight. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Why
gives
is
you.
that the recommended?
It gives you, because they didn't want to recommend the same one for fighter,
Yeah.
Ugh.
The
even
back.
though the one for fighter is probably what you're gonna take as a paladin.
Mhm.
Like, true sight would be really cool for a rogue, less
Mhm.
so than a paladin.
Yeah,
I
mean,
can
doesn't-
understand
like, more so than a
why they're
paladin.
like, oh, paladin should have true sight because they're like this divine war, but like, you'll be fine without true sight. You'll,
You're gonna hit things anyway.
yeah.
I mean, it is cool that they gave true sight radius 60 feet though, because they normally only give like 10
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah. It's level 19, so I'm glad they did 60. I would have been
Mhm.
mad. I
True.
probably would have been mad if it was 30. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's Paladin. Any final thoughts before we move on to the next one and perhaps last one because we've been going a while. We might make this into fourths.
Mhm.
Final thoughts. I did want to bring this up because it was kind of like what I was saying earlier. Thematically, I'm not sure if I like it or not. I'm on the fence still. Gameplay wise, 100%. It seems like a good rework of the class. I actually do really like the Restoring Touch feature, which is the level 14 one. I like how they reworked that. I like that they're giving you more viable options for lay on hands to use instead of the disease thing, because no one used it for disease ever. So
Unless you got sick as a bit.
so let us use it for conditions. Yes, that's nice. Again, I just think some of the reworks on how your innate, what it might just be, me having actually played Paladin for a very long time in 5e, that it's just something about it doesn't sit right with me internally, that it's like that doesn't feel right. The way they reworked Divine Smite, but from a gameplay perspective, I think it's better. I don't know what they could have done to make it feel like it sat right with me. It might just be one of those things where like it's different. So my innate what's the word I'm looking for? Precautions.
Anti-change monkey brain.
My innate precautions are like, be wary of this because you're unsure about it. I don't know. And perhaps
Yeah,
that's what a lot of other people are feeling.
class is ruined. Never playing it again. Basically garbage. Yeah.
Y'all are
Yeah.
whiner babies. Cut it out.
Nah, it's real. Game's over. D&D's canceled.
Mhm.
The Antichrist has ruined D&D.
Mhm. All right. Now let's talk about a class that people actually care about. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. That'd be a fun poll to see what class people cared about the most. But anyway,
It's gonna be Paladin. It's
Yeah.
well, not like care about the most in the changes. I just mean like in general, what
Just-
class do you
it's
care
gonna
about
be
the most?
Paladin. It's
You think so?
I
don't
think
know.
I think it would either be Paladin or Wizard.
I think people care a lot about the rogue and the bard. People care about them a lot, but I don't think anyone.
I feel like it would be a splitting the vote situation though,
Yeah.
where there are more people who are like in both of those camps that cross over, so they'd be like, "Oh, which one do I pick?" Whereas I feel like people who play Paladins or Wizards are like, "I play Paladin or Wizard,"
This
and
is
that is
my
it.
thing.
Maybe.
But I don't know. That might just be me stereotyping. I say that
True.
being a
You are
Paladin
a
player.
Paladin player. I was
Paladin
gonna
guy.
say the one Paladin guy says, "I think it would be Paladins." I don't trust that so much,
Mhm.
but
It's like you and Dylan talking about humans.
true.
But
either way, I
you
don't think it's
guys
barbarians.
are sitting here ragging on how the entire D&D community is up in arms about how they changed Paladin, so that's also part of where my reasoning comes from is
Yeah. Did you hear about what they did to Ranger?
no.
It was a huge change. Everyone's really mad about it.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay.
Go to the Reddits. You'll see.
I'll take
I
your
couldn't
word
tell
for
if
it. I
this was
didn't.
a bit
Yeah,
for
no,
a
I couldn't
second.
tell if this was a bit
No.
of like no one's actually mad
Dylan
because no
talked
one
about
cares
it
about
in our
Ranger.
group chat.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
Dylan,
he did
mention
okay,
it.
okay, but
Dylan
going
also
back to
likes
the example
Rangers.
you just used about me,
Dylan also talked
Dylan
about
played
the
a
Paladin.
Ranger.
It's like me
He
going
also
on a
talked
rant
about
about
the Paladin.
clerics. Like,
Dylan talks about everything.
yeah, true.
Also, yeah, Dylan is just very enthusiastic about Dungeons and Dragons and really likes the game.
We don't get our D&D news from Wizards. We
get it
our
from
D&D
Dylan.
news from
Yeah.
Dylan.
He's on top of it.
No, I went to the D&D, the r/1D&D Reddit today to find a post to find like where all this information was at, and I sorted by top of the past week because I thought that's where they would like put.
And it
like,
was
oh,
actually
master
by
document.
you/Dylan.
Yeah,
It was-
Dylan.
Not his
last
username that he
name.
uses for the internet.
No,
No.
no. But I couldn't find for a long time. I couldn't find any document that had all these articles. The like top 10 were ruined Ranger. Ranger's not that bad. Ranger DPS comparison, and I was like, it's that mad for you, huh? Y'all care that much? You never did. Now you do.
They're that
Like,
pressed.
oh, but Monk comes out soon, so we'll see if that same outrage comes out. I think it's coming out
Monk
next
ass.
week.
The barbarian.
Made him upset.
This change, I'm pretty sure, was more or less the same from UA. Rage can now be persisted using bonus action. If you
Yes.
don't hit or
I dig
get
it.
hit.
I support this change.
That's
Mm.
fine.
It is stupid that you lose it if you don't get hit. Sometimes that's not your fault.
I'm fine either way. I like that you have to try to keep it up,
Mm-hmm.
and I also like that now you don't always have to. I think both are fine.
Well, and also at that point, for a lot of barbarian stuff, what the hell else are you supposed to use your bonus action for? Once you rage, that's kind of your whole bag.
True. That can be said for several classes though. Once they use their bonus action, they don't use it ever again. Except for rogues and monks.
And now
Maybe
paladins.
Rangers and paladins. They fixed the paladins with that.
Actually, clerics get a spiritual weapon as a bonus action.
And
What
clerics.
if I counterspell it?
If you counterspell it. And yeah, paladins don't get their bonus action if you counterspell it now. Because it doesn't use it.
Hey,
You
get wrecked.
can use bonus action lay on hands. That's not a spell yet.
Yeah. Which supposedly,
Make it a
based on
spell.
how the wording of the rule works now, if someone counterspells your smite, you can just turn around and say, okay, I'm going to lay on hands instead. Because it doesn't use your smite until you hit. So it doesn't use that bonus action until you hit.
I don't know. I'll have to wait till I see the actual ruling.
You want to know what would be so
That
stupid?
is
if they
interesting.
made
I
it-
bet that's going to be one of the first things that's like a thing Jeremy Crawford's going to have to talk about on a
He's
ruling.
gonna have to make a tweet.
Yep.
Okay, hear me out. If he makes it so that Paladin Lay on Hands is in fact a spell and you have to roll for how many hit points you do, but it's still a pool of hit points that you have. So you roll to figure out how much of the pool of hit points that you have you can use.
Nah, I'll tell you what. You know what would be good? Lay on hands, but you have to roll to hit. And if you miss, all that you expended is gone.
I can't imagine using roll to hit rules for healing spells. I mean, that's kind of wild, guys. Who would do that?
Guys, it was like 5 years ago at this point. It's getting old.
Who's guys? It's Gal over there.
Taryn was thinking it.
That's
What?
true. That's true.
No.
Oh, sorry. You weren't thinking anything. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
Live
empty
Taryn
in there.
reaction.
That's the difference between me and Taryn. Taryn's head is empty. My brain is constantly playing Kokomo.
I don't care about Coco.
Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Weapon mastery. Yay! Okay, anyway.
You get
Danger
2.
sense.
Unlike Fighter, who gets 3. You're worse, stupid. You're not as good.
So
You got
for
danger
danger
sense now.
sense, number 2, yeah, it's you no longer have to see it coming. You just actually have spidey senses.
Is that trademark?
On dex saving throws. Just dex saving throws.
True, that's what it normally was.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
It was dex saving throws that you could see, and now it's dex
Mhm.
saving throws. You get advantage.
You're just that angry.
I'll take it. Subclasses. The ones that aren't new, Path of the Berserker, which I heard had a huge change. I'll get into that in a minute.
Mhm.
What was Path of the Totem Warrior is now Path of the Wild Heart.
That is something that irked me is they changed a bunch of names of some subclasses
Yeah.
for seemingly no reason because they
Yeah.
didn't really
Mhm.
change the subclass that much.
Yeah, I don't care about Wild Heart. I don't like that. I don't sit. And then Path of Zealot. But let's break them down. Taryn, why don't you take Berserker?
Okay. Let me read. I've not read this yet, so
I know that they changed the main big gripe that everyone had with Berserker that
Yeah.
everyone says is why it was bad in 5e.
So instead of giving bonus action attacks, the extra damage is represented by a number of d6s equals to your rage bonus damage.
That's
You
good.
also don't gain levels of exhaustion for using this ability.
There it is.
That's cool.
That's the thing. That's
Yeah, that's really good.
That extra damage is good. That's an extra
Yes.
3d6 at high levels every turn, 2d6 even at the beginning level. Plus
Yes.
2d6 damage early on outpaces a level 1 rogue.
yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Very good.
Of course, this is level 3 because you have to get your subclass. But
And
anyway.
also at higher levels, that's not 3d6, that's 6d6 because you get 2 attacks as a barbarian.
Mhm.
It's on your first hit. each
Oh, is it
turn.
just on one hit? Okay.
Yeah, it says on your first hit.
Intimidating presence and retaliation have swapped places. Intimidating presence now affecting multiple what?
That says multiple creates.
Yeah,
It does.
I'm so
Oops.
Who wrote this?
That's-
Inspired.
That's supposed to be creatures.
okay. Multiple
Critura.
creatures and the frightened lasting
We
up
didn't
to
proofread this at
I think a
all.
barbarian
To
wrote
1
this.
minute.
I-
Author is Mike
Without-
Bernier.
They went method.
without your need to spend your action extending the duration. What is
Shoo!
any of that
He had
sentence?
a
gonna say,
stroke
uh,
at the
Mike
last
Bernier,
sentence.
You need
Now-
fired or help.
Now affecting multiple
Oh my
creatures and the
God.
frightened condition lasting up to 1 minute without you needing to spend your action extending the duration is what
To
I think
extend
it's
the
Oh
supposed to say.
my
duration.
god.
Way of in out hot, eat the food.
Okay. Intimidating presence, sure. Frightened is nice to inflict.
Mhm.
Mindless rage
But the
is
What?
quite nice.
what one thing that is good about being able to inflict frightened condition now, especially with intimidating presence, is that I'm not sure, is that a bonus action?
Eh.
I don't know. But depending on what it is, that also acts as a rage extension as well now, because they changed it to you either doing bonus action to extend it or inflicting forcing somebody to make a saving throw.
Mm,
So having that, you can do that and still affect creatures without having to just waste a bonus action.
that's
so
I
that's
kind
cool.
of dig it.
Yeah.
I'm still just all about the no exhaustion plus extra damage.
Yeah, no, that's
The
fantastic.
no exhaustion
is
goes
nice.
hard.
Worker. All right.
That is just what it should have been
Yeah.
Mhm.
originally.
I think it's really well too because it says d6s of your rage bonus damage for 1 hit. That's not so much that it's overpowered,
Mm-hmm.
nor is it so little that it's negligible.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah. Time for the Wild Heart. Jordan, this is your favorite one. Why don't you talk about it?
I think they were just trying to make a barbarian druid. I'm just gonna say that right now because changing the name makes it just sound like a barbarian druid.
True.
Path of the Wild Heart has seen some significant improvements in its flexibility. Now you can change the animals that you draw primal power from more easily, and they've been balanced to make choosing feel more strategic. I don't do anything for strategy, I do it for vibes. Instead of choosing an animal at level 3 and sticking with it your entire campaign, you can swap out benefits from your level 3 and 14 abilities each time you rage.
Dang.
Oh,
That's a
That's
That's
lot.
cool.
That's that's kind of sick. The more passive abilities you gain at level 6 can be changed out whenever you finish a long rest.
So that means that you can change your animal stuff during combat.
Apparently,
yeah.
That's actually really cool.
I
Nice.
do
It's really
Druid.
strong.
I do think it is cool. I also think it's really strong, but the main
Yes.
thing I'm thinking of right now is that seems to me from a DM's perspective like a little bit of a headache
Yeah.
because you're only going to be raging during a combat. So to in the middle of a combat be like everyone stop.
Let me rework my entire
I gotta
class.
change my class abilities real quick. That seems like it might get a little annoying to me.
Fingers crossed you have a good player that just knows
Yes.
what to do.
That's what
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying is like you're probably gonna want to have a little bit more of an experienced player playing this subclass now.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Whereas formerly it was the opposite. This was the easiest subclass for barbarian players to have because they could just I mean, I guess you just don't have to. You could just never change what you pick. So it still functionally is the same. You just have the option to pick now to swap
That
out.
too, I'm gonna have to
You
wait
hit
and
the
see
sicko
what
mode.
the animal features are at level 3 because bear
Yeah.
at 3 was so strong. Why would you ever not do that?
Yeah, it does say they've been reworked.
I gotta see them.
They've been balanced to make choosing feel more strategic.
Wolf was half decent too because that's the one that granted advantage. But
I will make the point. I feel like this has the same thing as what we were talking about with the weapon of like, yeah, you can for strategic reasons, but are people going to?
Yeah.
Because,
that's the question.
because I pick things for the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But that is
And it's
also
barbarian
very
players.
strong. That is
It
a
is very
very
strong.
strong feature.
We'll have to see what all's in the realm of stuff you can pick from because that's a lot of features to be able to swap out at either a rage or a long rest. That's a lot of features.
It's just like
Versus
flipping your entire
Berserker.
subclass on a whim.
Yeah, and then you have Berserker, which is I do more damage.
And I don't get tired.
Moving on, and we're gonna start with the other old one. Then we'll get to the new one, Zealot. Levi, you want to take that one?
Zila.
Originally introduced in Xanathar's Guide to Tasha's Cauldron, this Radiant subclass has a glow-up. Its Warrior of the Gods feature now helps you to stay alive by giving you a pool of healing dice you can roll as a bonus action, rather than making it easier to bring you back from the dead. This is also reflected in the Rage of the Gods feature, which replaces Rage Beyond Death and gives you a fly speed, damage resistances, and the ability to expend a use of your rage to prevent you and your comrades from dropping to 0 hit points.
You and your comrades.
So it's a full-on tank now. That's cool.
Yes. Like
You
that.
Heal yourself.
Also, something that I will say now that I think I've noticed through many of these changes, I feel like they're trying to move away. I don't know if we've talked about this at all. Maybe we did back when the UA stuff was happening. But it feels like to me they're trying to move away from the gameplay loop of fight until you hit 0 hit points and then get healed back to life.
Yeah.
Because they specifically change it so that it's no longer, it says, rather than making it easier to bring you back from the dead, now you can just heal yourself in combat as a bonus action to keep yourself up for longer in the middle of the combat.
Oh,
Interesting.
maybe that or they're just allowing more power in the hands of the players to keep yourself up instead of depending on clerics.
Well, also, I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, that also feels similar to what they did with Lay on Hands with Paladin, making it a bonus action so you can heal yourself not at the expense of being able to attack, which lets you stay up for longer.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays. But it is true, they are putting more emphasis on people being able to heal themselves, especially with more second wind uses in the fighter as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just allowing you to stay in. It's not even they're letting you stay in longer because a good cleric can do the same thing. They're letting
It's freeing
the
up
players
the
do
action
this.
economy for other people.
They can heal themselves. Everybody can.
Yeah.
Almost.
But it's not big healing like a cleric could do necessarily. It's just like little things that will keep them in the fight. It's little things that like could negate the damage they took this turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference between one and dead.
Yeah.
Which, watch, the cleric has no changes and it heals for 8 per turn using a spell slot. Worse than
Just play
second
life
win.
cleric.
Heal for 9.
Heal for like 24 in my experience with a life cleric.
Best way to play a cleric, just wait till they're dead. That's when you can fix everything. It's fine.
That's
So
what they're
true.
moving away from. That's what they're de-incentivizing.
I know.
You want
Until
to-
they fix the cleric, they will not de-incentivize me from just letting my party die and then fixing the aftermath.
See, that feels like a you decision and not,
That
not a
It does seem like a
gameplay
you
thing.
decision. Because I've made a build once that was all centered around healing, and you just healed everybody for like 14 per turn using a spell slot.
I don't want to hear it. I was a really good cleric.
It's true. You were good at keeping us alive. or at least
We're only on level 3 though. We need to get chugging along on this.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm done. This is my hut.
God.
We're probably gonna
again.
have to end on barbarian because we've been going
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Primal
So
knowledge. We saw this one in the UA.
yes,
You now can get extra proficiencies.
it's power with glasses.
Yeah.
But we didn't talk about World Tree.
We skipped.
Oh, we
World Tree.
skipped World Tree. There's a
Don't
new
wanna talk about
subclass.
it.
It's called Path of the World Tree. It lets you do temporary hit points, shift
Teleport.
enemies around the battlefield, increase your reach, and you can teleport.
Yeah.
Primal knowledge.
I don't like the framing of teleport in this case. From what I understood, it was more like tree walking.
Mm-hmm. Again, similar to Paladin. Not sure how I feel about it thematically for Barbarian.
Yeah,
Doesn't-
it's a bit weird.
Doesn't feel like Barbarian to me.
It doesn't fit, no. We'll have to see the final version, but it does not feel like Barbarian at all.
From a gameplay perspective, I'm sure it's fine.
You know what it feels like? It feels like Oath of Ancients.
Yes, yes,
It feels like
yes.
It's just Oath of Ancients. But anyway, primal knowledge. You can get certain skill proficiencies, super proficiencies.
Yep.
Not actually. That's that. The ones are mostly physical ones. Well, maybe not that. Acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, and survival. And they talk about how crazy it is that you can fly into a rage and then you sneak. You can stealth.
Basically, it's incentivizing you to reuse rage outside of combat.
Yeah, they're trying to allow the barbarian to do more than just what they do in combat with this.
Talk
Which is
about an
appreciated.
all-terrain rage.
No, I won't.
Instinctive pounce. You move up half your speed as part of the same bonus action you use to enter rage. I read
That's cool.
ahead. It said rage. Sure. These features are strange.
nice.
Yeah.
It lets you move after you rage so that you can, like, if you're not already on top of an enemy, you can be.
Catch me this. This and tactical shift are the same feature, but a little different.
Yeah.
True.
But
It's
this
fine.
one
Well,
this one doesn't take away opportunity attacks though.
True.
No.
And also, this one I feel like is probably going to be used more at the beginning of a combat, whereas tactical shift is going to be used more at, like, the midpoint of a combat.
Mhm.
Maybe, but it's just it's strange that we're seeing full-on class features that are little extra movement.
Yep.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just strange.
Again, I think giving people
Seem
more
weak.
movement gives them the opportunity to be more tactical, especially since you can attack and keep moving. So,
Maybe. Seems a little weak to me, but we'll see how it plays. Brutal Strike. No longer brutal critical. Haha.
you can forgo advantage on strength-based attacks in exchange for more damage. So instead of just having more damage on your critical as a flat, you can get more damage in exchange for advantage.
Yeah. You can get advantage through reckless attack and just do this, or you can get advantage from elsewhere and do this. So it
Can't
doesn't
have
matter where the
disadvantage on
advantage
it,
comes
though.
from. Ah, it gets the sneak rules. Good.
It's barbarian sneak.
Yes.
Oh, it's also it's that that feat. It's the one where you take a minus to your roll to hit to gain damage. It's what that is. Basically.
Great
Remember
Weapon
what
Master?
that one's called.
There's that one, and then there's a range version that Hector had. that
I
did
don't
the same
remember the
thing.
range one.
Sharpshooter.
It wasn't Sharpshooter. that
I
had
think
that?
Sharpshooter does do that. I think
Yes.
Sharpshooter does the range and that.
Well, yeah, that's sort of what this is. This is a different version of that, reworked version of that. Because if I remember right, I think those feats were gone from this version. I think they got rid of those two. But that includes other things you can do with the hit, such as forceful blow, where you send them far away, and hamstring blow. Hey, you love Baldur's Gate 3? I love Baldur's Gate 3. Reduces your target speed by 15 until the start of their next turn.
Did you ever finish
yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3?
No, I got into Act 2 and then quit playing.
Dang.
I'll probably start playing again in a couple of years.
Played on stream.
Eventually.
Relentless Rage.
We heard you like tanky builds, so we made your tanky build even more tanky.
I don't want to keep
like
reading
that.
this.
I don't.
Please.
I will note. Okay, the player's handbook is remarkably dry to get through. I will give you that. It's like a textbook. This is not better.
This is the opposite of the pendulum.
I'm
This
just
makes
reading
it
a
worse.
millennial talking.
You haven't found a happy medium. You have swung in the entirely opposite direction.
It's just bad. Please
It
stop.
reads like Life is Strange.
Just give me the information. I don't need the dumb interludes of that. No, stop.
You could have just cut that sentence off at "We heard you like tanky builds," and that I would have been okay with that.
That's
and then
fine,
it continuing
yeah, then
on
it's
to
like, haha.
previously when you succeeded on it instead of adding on the end. So we made your tanky build even more tanky.
I hate it.
It would have been even worse if they said we added more tanky to your tank. That would have been so much worse. So this is
Don't
Don't give them
ideas.
ideas. Yeah, no, don't feed them for PHB 2025
Sorry.
when they inevitably are like, everyone hated this one, so we're making a new one.
Yeah.
We're honestly though, so far it's like a 6-7 out of 10 for me. Although we
hasn't been as bad
we
as I
haven't
thought it
gotten
would
through
be.
I gotta
everything
see-
yet.
I gotta see
Yeah.
the real rules.
We have
before
only
I
gotten
make
through
anything.
a fourth, not even so
Yeah.
far.
Not
So
even.
there's still plenty to judge.
Yeah. Why?
Um,
Man, Barbarian has a lot of class features. A lot of these ended at like level 14, level 13, and then you didn't get anything until Epic Boon. We
Yep.
be going
Yes.
on Barbarian.
So Relentless Rage. When you succeeded a con saving throw after getting knocked to 0 hit points, you would go back to 1. Now you go back up to twice your Barbarian level. Again, more hit points,
I
more
dig.
survivability, be in the combat for longer without necessarily having to rely on healing from someone else.
I have to go see when that Undying Sentinel thing is from Oath of Ancients, but this could go crazy combining multi-classing this and that.
I don't think it's possible. I think Undying Sentinel is up in the teens.
Gotta know. I gotta see it. I gotta know.
Tack on the fact this continues to happen until you fail your con saving throw after dropping to 0 hit points. This means you could trigger this ability multiple times per long rest.
It's pretty good.
So if you could combine this with Undying Sentinel and you're a barbarian, so you have, I'm pretty sure they're proficient in con saving throws.
Yes.
And if you're a barbarian, you're gonna have high con. You could just live forever.
Can you imagine, like, you're fighting, and you're on 0, and you keep, like, succeeding the con save, and then eventually you fail. Nat 1. No resources to re-roll it. Oh, Undying Sentinel, back in, and the
Yep.
DC's reset, and then you're back to doing the Barbarian one.
Seeing as
I
you
like
don't
that they
lose your rage
increase
until you get
the-
incapacitated, you effectively have twice that many. Yeah, also, yeah, because you'll still be raging, so you'll have your resistances up.
Mm-hmm.
Tack on the fact this continues to happen until you fail your con saving throw. Yep. Yeah.
Does the con save still increase though? Because that's the fun thing. Because that Arlo got to use that once and it kept her alive for several rounds. But then the con save gets so high that you just fail, which is fine.
Eventually
that
that
is
probably would happen.
balanced.
Yeah.
But
It
it
doesn't
didn't
say
say
it.
it didn't say anything about the con save.
It doesn't explain how the con save works, but I would presume it's based off the damage you take, because that's usually how it works, but I'm not sure.
The one
Does it
that at least the one that we played with, it went up by 5 every round that you when you went down, it was +5 to the con save.
Mm,
And so Arlo tapped out when the DC hit 30 because I couldn't
yeah.
go any
Yeah.
higher because that was what
It
kept her
doesn't
up
say they've
whenever
changed
Hector
it from
was
that,
wailing
so I
on
would
her.
assume it's probably still the same.
I would hope so because I'm not mad at that mechanic. I like
Yeah.
that they increased the number of hit points you get. I think that's a little bit more balanced.
Improved Brutal Strike at level
I was gonna-
13.
I was gonna read the funny thing at the
We-
end. Oh well.
No, we're not giving them any more
Please no.
pity
Just put a
points.
scratch.
They misquoted it. That's not even the
Oh.
quote.
Yeah.
Gold to draw. Getting even more recklessly strategic. I'm gonna say words I'm not allowed to say on YouTube.
Please don't.
Staggering blow. Force your target to have disadvantage on that. These are things you can do when you use Brutal Strike, by the way. You can do this
Mhm.
now. You can force a target to have disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of your next turn. Or if you have a martial buddy fighting alongside you, when you hit a creature with this ability, the next attack made against it has a +5 to hit. Essentially, you're trading off advantage to give your buddy advantage. Persistent Rage at level 15. Any comments about Improved Brutal Strike before we move on?
I think Sentinel
Good.
was interesting. It doesn't actually give advantage. It just increases the chance to hit. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like it.
Staggering blow is very, very good.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I'm interested about the brutal strike things. How many of these work with your weapon mastery stuff? Because it has push,
Mhm.
and earlier had forceful blow, sending a target 15 feet away, but push is 10 feet. Is it where forceful blow would usurp it, or can you combo it?
Yeah.
Stack 'em.
Jeremy, Mr. Crawford.
We haven't looked
Frantic
at
eyes.
any full spellcasters yet, but so far it seems like really big martial buffs in terms of weapon mastery being able to combine with a lot of these features for fighters
Yeah.
and barbarians.
This makes martials actually viable now.
Suck. Sap. Sorry, Sap. I forgot.
I thought you were just saying suck.
I also
Oh,
thought you were just saying
Me
suck.
too.
You too?
Yeah. I5.
Persistent rage.
Persistent Rage, level 15. Used to
Can't
make
end it.
used to make your barbarian age impossible to end early, short of knocking them unconscious. You still get the benefits, and your rage lasts for 10 minutes without needing to extend it in any way now.
That's
Woo.
nice.
That's
You regain all
great.
uses of rage when you roll initiative.
Ooh.
Only triggers
That's
once
not
per
bad.
long rest, but a full 15 minutes of raging should let you get to the next time you're able to kick up your feet and relax. Improve Brutal Strike at level 17. Doubles the damage dealt from 1d10 to 2d10. Allows you to inflict 2
Yo.
different Brutal Strike effects each time you hit, which means you can
Oh
just
my
now do
God.
those 2 things I just told you about. You can do both of them.
That's
Pretty good.
insane.
I'm thinking of this with Berserker because this is the core class features. Berserker dealing 3d6 now plus 2d10 plus these extra effects plus the weapon damage.
Yes.
Berserker DPS go crazy.
Very much makes up for the removal of Brutal Critical, I think. And also, do those dice get critical if you crit hit? Because I feel like they would.
Presumably,
should.
They
Because,
yeah.
just like Sneak, it's just something that's attached to your base
Yeah,
damage.
the only thing that doesn't
so
get doubled
it
is,
should
is
go up.
the modifier.
Which, in my opinion, probably makes them do more damage on a critical than they used to with brutal
Mhm.
criticals.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
I
I
don't know.
think this is kind of just an all-around buff for Barbarian damage and utility-wise, which is good. Barbarian was lacking everywhere except pretty much hit points.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh my God. Based on the flavor text from this, you can do this like the brutal strike stuff on thrown attacks as well.
Oh,
So like thrown weapons.
Yeah.
That's great.
this allows you to combo effects like sending an enemy flying into a blade barrier with disadvantage on their dex saving throw, for example. Or perhaps you hit a creature with a thrown hand axe and use forceful blow to send them 15 feet away and hamstring blow to reduce their speed by 15 feet. Then step back a couple of feet and ready your next hand axe.
That's fantastic.
We're Sentinel polearm mastering now, but with
Yep.
thrown weapons instead.
That's
Watch-
so cool.
Watch me over here with the wizard set up a prismatic wall, and I just hit them with a hand axe, sending them
Okay,
through
so
every
now
panel of the wall.
Barbarian is becoming the combo class
That's-
now. What
That
the
makes
heck?
perfect sense though. That's really cool.
Barbarian is the setup class now.
Mm.
Where was this in Vivia 2 when TJ wanted to be this?
Mm,
I don't know. Otherwise, epic boon.
Epic Boon, they recommend Irresistible Offense. Allows you to increase your strength or dex to a maximum of 30. Interestingly enough, both the other ones just let you pick anything so far. This one only lets you
Mhm.
pick strength or dex.
Yeah.
You get the ability to overcome resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing with your attacks. Pretty good. Also, just like the Barbarian featured for resistance, it doesn't specify whether it's magic or not, which I think means it would also apply to magical piercing and slashing and bludgeoning. So you could overcome resistance to that. When you roll a 20 on the die for an attack roll, you get to deal damage equal to the ability score that you used to make the attack,
That's kind of sick.
which will likely at least be 25
Mm-hmm.
when you
As a
gain access
primal
to Primal
champion.
Champion.
Yeah.
Now that's a
That's
critical
so
hit.
read-
cool.
You gotta read the last sentence.
Critical roll. No,
Now that's
So-
a critical hit.
so you're doing your crit damage already, which is 2d10 plus
Mhm.
3d6 at this level, plus whatever your weapon die is.
Plus rage.
All of that's getting doubled. Then you add your rage.
And if
Fine
you're
for
adding
your
the
strength
brutal
or dex.
strikes, it's 2d10.
I already put the 2d10 in
Oh,
there.
okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
then you're putting, implied by them, 25 more damage on top of that.
That's insane.
Shoo!
Now this is pretty good, but also this is a boon that any class can take.
True.
Yeah.
True. But it will be definitely the best for Barbarian who can spike their strength above 20 relatively easily with their class features.
Wait, it doesn't
Hexblade,
specify.
too.
It doesn't specify weapon attacks. Technically, you can do that with spell attacks too.
It says for an attack roll.
Well, I'm just saying it because of how Barbarian's set
With
up.
all
It
the
makes it.
bonuses.
Oh, yeah,
you
it's
can
great.
go over 20. Like it would still be good if you had a score that was 20, but I'm saying like Barbarian can go above and beyond relatively easily
Yeah.
by the time they're at level 19. Whereas other classes, with how they're doing this epic boon stuff, it might be around level 19 that you're just starting to break 20s. But it would still be good.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's the
That's-
best for Barbarian. It seems
By like 4, which is good,
damage is damage.
but like
Game is game.
that it's best for Barbarian where it's 9.1 out of 10 and every other class is 9 because they're still going to have like a 20.
That's better.
It is.
That's
not
better.
by much. A fighter is going to get quite a lot of value out of this.
If I could pick between the two,
rogue's
I'm
gonna
picking
get
the
quite
one
a
that's
lot.
better.
A wizard can presumably do something with intelligence on this. A blade singer could get a lot out of this. A hexblade would get a lot out of this. Paladins would get a lot out of this.
I mean, anyone could get a lot out of this if they had a score that was 20.
Yes.
I mean, even if it wasn't 20, if it was like 18, that's still
Actually-
18 damage.
It would depend on the paladin build a little bit because they're a little mad.
Yeah.
Because they might not prioritize their strength as much as they.
True.
Hexblade would go sicko mode with this.
Yeah.
But yeah. Good boon.
I have to say I like the use of the actual number of your stat as opposed to the bonus because you don't see that very often. And I like
No,
it when
you
you do
don't.
that.
You don't see that very much. They should do that more.
All right, Taryn, read the next section.
I'm not reading that.
Taryn, you need to read that. If you don't read that, we can't end the
We
recording.
can't end the episode if you don't read this part. This is
Taryn,
the
I have
closer.
pizza behind me. I'm hungry.
I gotta go to bed soon. I got work
Me
tomorrow.
too.
And we
Taryn.
can't end until you read. Please.
Taryn, it's 4 words.
Jesus Christ.
No, that's not it.
That's 2 words.
Get your rage on.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the episode you just listened to. If you really like our content, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on YouTube, and look for us on Spotify. If you'd like to see us continuing to do more fun projects in the future, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find our page linked in the description above all of our other social media links. And finally, if you'd like to keep up with the zany shenanigans of our lives and check out some more skit-based content and things like that, check us out on Twitter and TikTok, links in the description. And hey, thanks!